Okay, how you doing out there? Welcome to my broadcast here on UStream TV at SIUtogether.com. Great to be here and great to be alive. Hope you feel the same out there. A lot going on in the world, obviously, and a lot going on in our sports world. And lately I've been asked about Tiger Woods. I've been asked about Jimmy Smith and just what they've been through, what they're going through, and all of that entails. Look, I start with Tiger. I applaud him. I think it's great. I think it's great that he may be back. Obviously, he's got to win, some majors with the U.S. Open approaching later this summer. I'm pulling for him. And I guess I'm a little different. I think as, being a guy that's been a professional athlete and a college athlete, I think I look at things a little bit different. I don't put these people on a pedestal. I just think they're talented. So I don't sit there and be like, wow, it's, no, they're people first, and then they just have incredible talent. I think as a society, we put these athletes, throwing actors, throwing musicians on these pedestals. Like we expect them to be more than human, larger than life. And maybe they are larger than life to a certain degree, but they're still human beings. Take Tiger. Look where he's been, right? Not only the deal with off the course and his, ex-wife and the whatever 30 extra women or whatever he was doing. Go back to the injuries. Go back to that. Go back to his struggles, and then you look at what he did, what he's done this year so far, and what he did this past weekend right around the corner from my house here in Ponte Vedra Beach. And I think it's phenomenal. I do. And let me just get this. I don't care that he cheated on his wife. That's not my problem. That's his problem. All I want out of Tiger Woods is all that we should ask for, and that's to do great on the golf course, right? Now, I don't want some punk. I don't want this and that. But you know what? The guy's human. We don't know the inside workings of his former marriage. I have no idea. You have no idea. I'll never forget when I was doing the radio show and some guy wrote into the local paper, "You were my mentor." And I'm like, what are you talking about? He plays golf. How the hell is he your mentor? I mean, did you look at him when he had the wife and the kids and you're like, oh my gosh, he's got wife and kids. Oh, that's so touching. I didn't. Good for him. That's great. Whatever. All I want out of Tiger Woods, or all I hope for, is watching him be great. And he is great. And, you can never take that away from him. I don't condone cheating on your wife. I don't cheat on my wife. I don't do any of that crap. But that's not how I judge athletes. That's not how I look at them. I want to see what they do on the field or on the court or on the golf course, whatever. And that's it. That's all I need out of them. And you know why? Maybe that is because I had such a strong upbringing with my parents. I never looked up to Walter Payton. I never looked up to Mike Singletary growing up out of Chicago. I loved watching them play. I thought they were incredible. Walter Payton came to my school 3 different times. I ran his hill. Maybe inspired me to do that, but I knew nothing about him as a person other than he seemed like a nice guy. But I had my parents. I had my family. They were the mentors. They were the ones I look up to. It all starts in the home, doesn't it? I mean, it does. So I never needed anything more than what was provided to me via my home, my upbringing, and maybe my high school coaches and likes of that. But I think we get too caught up in that. Just treat them as people. They're people first, and then they're just talented at what they do. You look at actors, and I love actors. They're great. It's a lot easier said than done. But I don't want to hear their political views. I don't care. I could care less with Sean Penn or whoever. It doesn't matter to me. I don't look at them like, oh my gosh, they think this about the world. They must be right. No, they're freaking actors. They're just people. And I've been fortunate enough to meet some actors and people in that industry, and they're just people that are talented at what they do. Quit putting them on a pedestal. You look at Jimmy Smith, and listen, let me just say this about Jimmy. He was my teammate for 5 years, and he's my friend and always will be. I did send him a note, upon hearing what he's been going through, and now that he's in prison in Mississippi. Jimmy was always a great guy, and I don't care what anybody says. I don't care. Put that other stuff, the addiction aside right now. But he was always a great human being to me, a great person. Now, I didn't hang out with Jimmy outside of the locker room too much on occasion. but not really. He was one of the guys I quote unquote ran with, but I always had a lot of respect for Jimmy. Came to play every day, came to work every day, was a great player, great teammate. And I'll tell you what, now, and you could take this for what it's worth, but I went to, my wife and I went to Kevin Hardy's wedding a long time ago. Kay Hard's a good friend of mine, and we were probably a handful of, two out of a handful of white people at Kevin Hardy's wedding, which was predominantly filled with black people, which is great. Look, the locker room cut through all the bullshit, and Kevin's a great person. He invited me to his wedding. I was like, heck yeah, I'd love to go see you and your wife Terry get married and all of that. And I'll never forget walking in with my wife Christina. I walked in. I didn't recognize anybody. I looked to my right, and then I recognized Keenan and Jimmy, and Kevin was over there, and other people and the likes of that. And right away, as I'm walking, I took 2 steps towards that table, which was about 30 feet away. I saw Jimmy, who was talking to the boys, go over to his wife, who was sitting at the table, said something to her. He helped her out of her chair, and they both came over to Christina and I and said hello. And I thought, you know what? That's character, man. That's character. And, take it for what it's worth. But I've always thought this, and the locker room, again, has helped me. I've always thought this about people of other races. How are they your friends, or how are they not your friends? I think a good judge, and this is just me talking here, is how are you treated? And this goes for everybody, all races, everybody. How are you treated when you're the minority, right? And how are you treated when they are the minority in the group? If it's the same, the character's phenomenal. It is. I'm sorry, but it is. So I'll never forget that about Jimmy Smith, and it's upsetting that he's in the position he's in. However, people, I keep reading and they keep saying, it's so sad. I can't believe he did this. How could he throw away all that money and all that blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. He's human. He's a human being. He's a human being who was very talented on the football field, but he's a human being. He faces the demons and struggles that a lot of people do. So I don't look at him. Jimmy Smith, the football player, is in prison. I look at Jimmy Smith, the person, is in prison, and he's got issues. Obviously, he's got problems, and I want nothing but him to get better and to be freed and to live a great life. And Jimmy, if you ever watch this, man, I love you, man. I hope you can overcome whatever is in your way. But people, they're human beings. They're nothing more than that. They're no different than you and me. And don't sit there and say, well, if I was in that position, I'd never let that happen. You don't know that until you're there. I would never spend that money. Really? Look at the lottery winners that are broke. They didn't have money before they won the lottery, and then they're broke. I mean, it's just the way it is. So, look, I think we should look at these athletes, these entertainers, these actors, musicians, etc., and just say, hey, they're talented. Great. They're people too. I don't, unless you know somebody personally, you don't really know them. So, because I've seen in the locker room, guys put on the locker room voice, the locker room act, then they go out and they're totally different. Perception's not always reality when you're looking at, different people in that regard. But just keep it in perspective. And on their side, on the athlete's side, on the they got to keep it in perspective too. You're not better than anybody else. You don't know more than anybody else because you're a great athlete. I found it funny, and I'll leave them nameless, but guys would sit around a locker room. They think they know this. They know this. They know this, I'll never forget Tom Cruise with Matt Lauer saying, oh, Matt, you're so, what do you call him, glub, whatever the word is. He's like, I've read books about psychology. Shut up. You're a freaking actor. You don't know anything more than anybody else. In terms of that, you're a great actor. I love Tom Cruise as an actor, but give me a freaking break. Bruce Springsteen, one of my favorite musicians growing up. Guess what? I don't care for his political talk. I don't want to hear him talk. It has no bearing. You're not going to influence me based on what you believe. Just sing the freaking music and entertain us. That's all I need out of that. So, I don't know. Look, I'm very fortunate that I had the locker room to really get through this. I tell my girls all the time, girls, I played with all types of people, Came from all types of background. I've played with millionaires. Daddy was never a millionaire, but I played with millionaires. Big time money players in the NFL. Guess what? Some of them were good guys. Some of them weren't good guys. Some of them I would hang out with. Some of them I would never hang out with. So you can't judge by how much money they have, what status they have, what kind of celebrity they have. I think they're judged by character. Character and performance, just like we're judged and accepted in the locker room by those two things. So let's keep it in perspective. Jimmy, God bless you, man. And again, I just want to reiterate, he's a human being. He's going through some tough times. I hope he can get through it. Because I care about Jimmy. I really do. And Tiger, good for you, man. I hope you win the U.S. Open. I hope you do. I thought what you did last week right here in Ponte Vedra Beach was awesome. I don't care about the other stuff. You're not my mentor. I couldn't believe that guy wrote that in. He's my mentor. I mean, what do you mean he's your mentor? He freaking swings a golf club. You get a life, for crying out loud. But nonetheless, sports are great. They divert us from real life. Entertainment's great. Same deal. Forget about life for a while, right? I love that. You go to the golf tournament, you go to a baseball game, you go to a football game. You get to forget about life for a little while, right? Go to a movie. Forget about life. Forget about those bills, those struggles, or whatever. That's what they're there for. That's great. That's great. But that doesn't make them much more different than you and I or anybody else out there. So I think we should all keep it in perspective. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the UStream broadcast right here at SIUtogether.com. I am Tom McManus signing off live from Ponte Vedra Beach. Hug the ones you love. Tell them you love them, because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. Have a great day. We'll see you next time right here on Tom McManus' UStream broadcast at SIUtogether.com.